Hello there, everyone, and welcome to a little bit of a different video today. Um, I've been meaning to do one of these because I get a lot of questions asked, like, what should I focus on, or can you take a look at my Idleon efficiency account and tell me what you think I should do next? Questions like that. And today I will actually be looking at the profile of Sludger over on the main Discord and the creator of the site. So he was asking what samples he should focus on, and I'm going to touch on that and other things because basically the way I would give that advice is by looking at the his profile and seeing what I think he should work on next. So without further ado, we will go ahead and jump right in. So first off, I'm gonna very briefly look at stamps. For stamps, there's not a ton that I can say. I'll basically just look at ones that look like they were kind of forgotten. So and ones that were forgotten and also that are actually kind of important because there are a lot of stamps whose bonuses are very minimal. So one off the bat I can see is the Drippy Drop stamp. He probably just has forgotten to level it because stamps are really tedious to level. um, but this one is quite cheap. I definitely know he can afford doing that because the cooked meal stamp cost you know a bit more. So my recommendation would be to go grab some more Drippy Drop levels. Granted, with the active Bubano, it it's really easy to just cap your liquids sometimes if you're not constantly at your computer. So, but as far as stamps go, like I can't just like say, hey, you should level your cooked meal stamp more because 45 void is easy for some and really difficult for others. That's not like a particularly um, good piece of advice to give, but the Drippy Drop stamp, it definitely looks like it's been neglected, just because I'm comparing it to other stamp levels of quite expensive nature. So anyway, as far as stamps go, like I would look and just see you want to get your multi-log, multi-skill stamps up kind of high. They're quite useful. So it's looking pretty good here. For Forge, we don't really need to look at that. It's too difficult for me to say, hey, you need to be going forging Void. It's just not very relevant advice to give. So here's the big one, Alchemy. Um, the first thing I look at when I look at someone's Alchemy is, are you capped on prowessery? Now, prowessery is not the only source of skill prowess now. There's actually a meal that helps it as well. And prowess cap is 2x. So I see it's 1.89 there and fairly expensive to go get. But then I can go to the cooking and see that they do not have leek unlocked. And leek is actually kind of a pain to go get now as well. It's one of the last unlockable spices currently. So um, it's like one of the harder ones. Um, so the the getting leek is like a harder ask, basically just saying, hey, go grab leek is not particularly easy. So I'd say probably using 90% tags, how much is it? 213k bars. So it's quite expensive, but it is worth leveling prowessery more. Um, I would say trying to grab some more levels in that. It is really an extremely important upgrade. So next off, I usually look at the bubble twos, and I can see all these are at a fairly strong level. Once you get past like the 100 point, it gets really expensive. One and two, the downscaling is pretty bad. Honestly, the diminishing returns start pretty harsh at like 75. The other things I would look at here are the big bubbles. I could see all these could use a little bit of work, but so if basically if I'm going to tell them to sample, I would say focus on getting goblin ears sampled, hermit cans, sentient cereal. Hammer is a little bit of a weird one. It is really really strong, but it's more something that you focus on towards it like end game. Granted, this is fairly cheap. I would say you want to level this to like at least 100. Um, But after that, it's just something you'll revisit rather than hard focus on it. So definitely want to be getting some monster teeth or mimic teeth. I mean. But the big skilling bubbles are very important, very, very strong, um, because they allow you to catapult your account a lot. The better your samples are, the better all your alchemy becomes. The better all your alchemy becomes, the easier everything in the game is. So, because alchemy is still just one of the best ways to increase your stats. Other things I'm gonna look at here. So another thing is mob sampling, like monster materials. There's actually very few bubbles after a certain point because of No Bubble Left Behind that will eventually push all your bubbles that actually require mob mats just so far that you won't reasonably be able to print enough that you need. Um, the skilling samples have become a lot more important because they allow you to push other bubbles and let No Bubble Left Behind focus on the ones that require mob materials. So that's another thing I look towards. I would definitely try to focus on strong tools. Where is it? Sanic tools and Librarian tools. Librarian is at a really a good level. Sanic tools is like the only Sanic tools and strong tools are like the two I would excuse me be printing towards. You are gonna want to use your sentient cereal for the bug squared anyway, so you can let Librarian tools go for a little while and then revisit it later. Um, so my recommendation would be, focus on Goblin Ears flies, sentient cereal, hermit cans. You don't really need to push cooking a roadkill right now. It's something you can do later. Um, Mimic teeth. Definitely be forging iron bars. They're just good in general. Same thing with gold bars. Um, Hocus Chopus could definitely be pushed. This is still very fairly cheap. And Hocus Chopus and Hardy Diggy are extremely huge for your samples. So yeah, so that's like the main bubbles I'll look at, and then if someone's asking me specifically for like how to increase my damage or something, I would look towards the later half of the bubbles, as those actually generally increase your damage more than any of the other ones. Like these three are really really good levels, really really good. Um, and then the new ones, the doublers, well the doublers. I can see the Premagreen is at a fairly low level. You can definitely go start trapping the dung beetles. But these are fairly hard to push anyway. They take a lot of bargain tags. Also, no bubble left behind won't touch the last 5 bubbles of each of the cauldrons. So alchemy is a huge tab I'll look towards. I'll just kind of make it a little bit brief, but if someone's asking for targeted advice, I usually look towards alchemy first. Vials, there's not really too much to say here. Unlock the vials. It's completely, RNG based, so as you get the chance to unlock them. Sigils, same thing. Nothing much to say there. Arcade, same thing. This is basically, you know, go grab some arcade balls, or it's just something that you get passively. For refinery, I would look if you're asking what to print. I would look to make sure you're maintaining the costs of your refinery cycles, and I could see need definitely want to be printing these materials that are in the red. Since maintaining refinery at 100% uptime is very important. So that's another thing I would look towards. Same thing here. There's not too much to say. You can't really print any of this stuff, and saying go focus on grabbing mousies isn't particularly useful. So yeah, that's what I would look towards basically. A couple of things. Again, this is mostly for if someone's asking me for targeted advice. I could look towards what your bonuses from meals are, and then because meals and alchemy basically, like meals are like the new alchemy, if you will, and they go hand in hand towards making me decide what you should like what advice I would give on what to level. So yeah, that was basically it. And then I would look towards if someone's just asking for general account advice, I would look towards like what your players are doing. But not I wouldn't like put too much thought into it because like sometimes I would notice like weird like card sets, but that just depends. Like I mean, I have like several people without even gear on in my current upload. It's just depending on like if you're moving stuff around at the time. So I usually don't look at this too much unless someone's specifically asking me like, what star sign should I have equipped or something. But so yeah, and then the last thing I would do is like I would look at storage and say, materials, and then filter by type. So if someone was asking specifically what ore should I print, I could see that these ores are fairly healthy. The only one that you're low on is a void. So well, you're low on dementia as well, but void is far more important. Dementia is not used in too much. Same thing with logs. I could see that most of these are good. Forest fibers is the only one I would say probably go get a print of. Um, Same thing with where is it? Fish. Hermit cans are really good for the bubble, so I would definitely recommend going to go grab those. At least a sample of them. Same thing with sentient cereal. I can see there's low on them. And so yeah, that would be basically my answer towards what should I print. That was a long answer, but basically all the things I outlined. And then overall, I would say my thoughts on the account and everything. Basically, I think it looks great. Apart from trying to pump the skilling bubbles, which I mean they're already fairly good. You only need to get to like 150 nowadays, so 155s depending on how pushed your stamps are and a couple other things. So yeah, looks really good, and that would be what I would do. So I might do more of these in the future, depending on like with specific targeted questions, like hey, what mob should I go farm or whatever. Um, so yeah, just a little bit of a different video. Hopefully you guys found that informative. And yeah, and I will hopefully be able to get another video out this weekend. So, all right, hey, have a good day, all.